In the vast and often tumultuous narrative of the Hebrew Bible, one of the most profound and unsettling moments occurs when God, the all-powerful and all-knowing deity, experiences a shift in his emotional and cognitive landscape. This shift is not merely a fleeting change of heart, but a fundamental transformation that redefines his relationship with humanity, and, by extension, the very nature of his own divinity. It is a moment when the omnipotent Creator, for the first time, feels a deep and complex emotion that he has never before acknowledged: pity. To understand the significance of this moment, we must first recognize that God, as portrayed in the earlier books of the Hebrew Bible, operates within a rigid framework of justice and retribution. From the book of Genesis to the book of Deuteronomy, God's actions are almost always seen as the direct and just consequences of human behavior. The wicked are punished, and the righteous are rewarded. This schema is so deeply ingrained that it leaves no room for ambiguity or nuance. God's justice is absolute, and his punishments are often severe. When the Israelites sin, they are met with plagues, wars, and other forms of divine retribution. When they repent and follow his commandments, they are blessed with prosperity and protection. This binary system of reward and punishment is the bedrock of God's relationship with his chosen people. However, as we move into the later books of the Hebrew Bible, particularly the book of Isaiah, we begin to see a subtle but significant shift in God's character. This shift is most evident in the passages where God speaks of his relationship with Israel, his chosen people, in terms of love and pity. The language used is rich and evocative, often drawing on the imagery of a loving husband and a devoted bride. For example, in Isaiah chapter 62, verses 5, God says, "As the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall your God rejoice over you." This verse, while beautiful and comforting, hides a deeper and more complex emotion: pity. The concept of pity in this context is not the same as the pity we might feel for a stranger in distress. It is a deeper, more personal emotion, one that arises from a place of profound empathy and a recognition of shared suffering. When God looks upon Israel, he sees a people who have been broken and abandoned, a people who have suffered greatly at his own hand. This realization shocks God, and it forces him to confront a question that he has never before considered. What if his actions, while just, have also caused unnecessary suffering? What if, in his zeal to punish the wicked and reward the righteous, he has gone too far? This recognition of his own potential for error is a seismic shift in God's character. It is a moment of vulnerability, a moment when the all-knowing and all-powerful deity is forced to question his own actions and motives. This is not a sign of weakness, but rather a sign of growth and maturity. It is a moment when God, for the first time, becomes more than just a judge and punisher. He becomes a being capable of compassion, capable of feeling the pain of those he has punished. The implications of this shift are far-reaching. It changes the nature of God's relationship with humanity. No longer is it a simple transaction of reward and punishment. Instead, it becomes a relationship of mutual empathy and shared struggle. God's pity for Israel is not just a momentary feeling of sadness or concern. It is a fundamental reevaluation of the nature of suffering and the role of the divine in the world. This reevaluation is most clearly articulated in the famous passage from Isaiah 53, known as the Suffering Servant poem. In this passage, God speaks of a servant who suffers unjustly, a servant who bears the sins of many and is rewarded for his suffering. This servant is often interpreted as a symbol of Israel, but it can also be seen as a reflection of God's own transformation. Through the figure of the servant, God comes to understand that suffering can have a redemptive purpose. It is not simply a punishment for sin, but a means by which the righteous can bring about a greater good. The Suffering Servant poem is a turning point in the biblical narrative. It marks a transition from a God who sees the world in black and white terms to a God who recognizes the complexity and ambiguity of human existence. It is a God who understands that suffering is not always a sign of divine displeasure, but can be a means of bringing about healing and reconciliation. This transformation is not without its challenges. It forces God to confront the limitations of his own justice and to reevaluate his relationship with humanity. It is a painful and difficult process, one that requires a deep and profound change in his character. But it is also a process that leads to a deeper and more meaningful relationship between God and his people. In the end, the transformation of God from a God of justice to a God of love and pity is a testament to the power of empathy and the capacity for change, even in the divine. It is a reminder that the divine is not static, but dynamic, and that the relationship between God and humanity is one of mutual growth and transformation. In conclusion, the moment when God feels pity for Israel is not just a moment of divine sorrow. It is a moment of divine awakening, a moment when the all-knowing and all-powerful deity confronts the limits of his own understanding and emerges as a being capable of deeper and more profound love. This transformation is a central theme in the later books of the Hebrew Bible and serves as a powerful reminder of the capacity for change and growth, even in the divine.